Have you seen the movie Concussion yet? Neither have I. I know, but you know what? We know it's a dangerous situation. You know, it's on my to-do list. We'll talk about the Golden Globes for briefly in just a second, but I am pleased and honored to have a special doc to talk to us about the concussion thing. And if you're a mom, a dad, a coach, a player of any, you know, it's one of those things where you really ought to be paying attention. And by now, if you haven't been paying attention, your head is concussed or in the sand, one or the other. But it's a fascinating conversation, and we are now kind of really evolving, except a couple of guys in the secondary in the NFL aren't, certainly from this past weekend. Let's go to the headlines and take a look at some of the things that are on the issues. And by the way, welcome in. Thanks for joining me on this Monday night. Yeah, you know what? Everyone's talking about the Powerball numbers. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's the number. Rhode Island finally joined the crowd. Rhode Island gas prices below $2 per gallon now for the first time in nearly 7 years. It's so fresh that we don't even have any video that shows the new pricing. But most everybody is under $2, which is really cool. Do you find yourself when you're pumping gas, there you go, looking at the ratio? You checking the ratio? You know, so, ooh, you know, I can get 20 gallons for $39.99. You know, I don't know how long this joy is going to last. Somehow it's not helping the stock market. So while I'm saving money at the gas pumps, and so are you, in the last week or so, we've been losing our shirts in the market, which has a lot to do with economic confidence and things like falling oil prices. Having one of those days. It's only Monday. But a lot of us are just hoping it doesn't matter because we're just going to win the big one. Wait till you see this email. Well, I'm not going to show it to you. I just got it on my phone, only adding to my commentary here. Headlines galore, Powerball, Powerball. Let's run the story. Eyewitness News is running on the latest complication. Now they can't even get the right number on the board.
I've passed them every day, the giant Powerball billboards that, considering how frequently the jackpot has changed recently, has digital numbers. But right now, they're reading 999.
Every time it gets this high and into this kind of frenzy, we always joke, like, it's going to go over $1 billion. What are we going to do? What about the signs? It never happens until now.
I went to the Rhode Island Lottery headquarters in Cranston to ask what is being done about the billboards.
I guess in the past when there was only 2 digits up there and we needed to add a third, we did go up with a cardboard sign and add it. So there's talks of that, if we can do that.
Even while the rush is on to buy tickets for the record-shattering billion-plus jackpot, there are still already some winners in Rhode Island. Edward Huff from East Providence matched 4 numbers and the Powerball Saturday, raking in $50 grand. The state's 1,200 Powerball retailers are also winning, pulling in collectively more than $250,000 in commission just in last Saturday's drawing. But are jackpots that are too large to even be displayed changing our expectations?
Is this what players are going to expect all the time? Are they not going to buy any tickets until, we're close to the $1 billion level now?
That's a good question. Honestly, I'm looking at my phone here. Everyone's going nuts. You want to get in a pool? You want to get in a pool? I think this will be my 4th straight Powerball lottery that I am participating in. So I didn't even get into $500 million. Which makes absolutely no statistical, numerical, or financial sense whatsoever, right? So I'm feeding the whole thing. Gentlemen, this is the card league I belong to. Anyone interested in joining the Powerball pool? We have 70 Powerball tickets, 28 players times $5 equals $140. If the ticket wins, you'll get 1/28 of the winning tickets. So your share would be $30 million. So that's $5 you're getting from me. I bet you the office will have another pool, so you don't say no. I mean, how in God's name do you want to say no to a pool? Could you imagine hanging out with people every day, every week, whatever group you belong to, the 50 that you belong to, and find out that you said no and they won? This is going to cost us an arm and a leg. Thank God gas is under $2 a gallon. Nobody's going to win this thing that you know. I don't think. Oops, she did it again. This governor is losing her financial marbles. Here's the headline that we chronically talk about. Truckers say they're going to avoid the tolls if they ever go up. And I played this for you last week. I'm going to play it again because she's doubled down on it, sort of. Governor Raimondo talking to Eyewitness News about her logic about the old Pawtucket River Bridge fines. You know, when the truckers rolled in and paid all that money in fees because they were overweight as evidence that they'd pay tolls. Listen to this logic.
You know, a few years ago, we had a bridge that we had to weight restrict in Pawtucket. We had a big sign up that said, "Don't go over the bridge." And instead of diverting, truckers routinely paid fines of $1,000 or $2,000. So much so that the state took in more than $10 million in those fines. So I find it hard to believe that a trucker is going to divert to avoid a $20 toll when they didn't divert to avoid a $1,000 fine.
So when our good governor said that last week, I went and did some diligence and found out that no, she's wrong. We only took in almost $7 million during that period of time, and it was from every citation that came around the state, right? Well, that wasn't good enough for her. She talked to Steve Klampkin on the WPRO Radio Morning News on Saturday and went from $10 to $13 million.
Some years ago, you probably remember, we had to weight restrict that bridge in Pawtucket.
Right.
And when we did that, the average fine for the trucker to go over that bridge was $1,000. And you know what? We raised $13 million in fines in a few years because they didn't want to go around it. They would rather pay $1,000 to go over that bridge than to lose the time going around it.
Okay, I remind you, it was less than $7 million. So on Thursday of last week, she told Eyewitness News it was more than $10 million, and then she told WPR Radio it was more than $13 million. Can I ask a question to the people who work in the Raimondo administration? Does anybody listen to what your boss is saying? Why are you taking our taxpayer money and at least not correcting your boss? Help her. Help her, help us, help you, help her, help us. By the way, not only does she not have the numbers correct, the logic that truckers just went and drove into the Pawtucket Bridge willing to pay $1,000 to $3,000 in fines is insane. They were caught. Got it? They were caught. It has no impact on their decision as to whether they will avoid tolls when 14 gantries are put up. And of course, now the governor says it's only going to be $20 across the state. Her latest report says it's $30 across the state. Whew. In the meantime, Speaker Mattiello has been waxing on about this. He wants to borrow less money in this Roadworks program, but he wants to keep the tolls. He was at Bryant University speaking to the small business folks the other day, and he laid down the gauntlet. Now he suggests that the people who oppose the tolls are all just a bunch of naysayers. Listen to this.
I'm the person who insisted on an economic impact study, and we have the results of that study. And I'm, someone working with the governor and the Senate president at trimming it down. But you have to kind of tell us what you want. Do you want to have the best community like Bryant University that invested and made itself better and grew itself and achieved something? Or do we just want to be a society of no?
Oh, please, sell it to the Air Force, will you, Nick? It's not that the people are depressed. It's not that they want to be a society of no. It's not that the chubby guy on television just wants to be a naysayer. It's that you've got no credibility on this particular project. You had no credibility on the paw socks to Providence because you didn't have the numbers published after the first deal went south. We're all open-eyed and eared to the ideas that would make the place better. But we know one thing. We know that there's no trust right now in what the General Assembly does or what it could do based on what it has done with 38 studios, which you never purged and fixed with the right kind of review and political prosecution minimally. Okay? We don't trust you guys right now. We're not a society of no. We're a society of, oh no. Okay? Because if you asked people, do we want the bridges fixed? You know what we'd say? Yes, because we don't want to fall down on them. Do it the right way. Find the money. We have an $8.7 billion budget. Yes, there's money. All right. David Bowie was lost this weekend. Wow, what a career. I had a whole big package. I got too much to talk about with the doc because this is a really important conversation, so I'm going to shorten this up. But man, he was weird. He was weird, and he was talented, and he was special, and he was different, and he is memorable, and his music will be long-lasting, and he was still weird. Wasn't he? Unbelievable. What a, I grew up during that time. I thought it was weird then, and I never had one of those mullets either, by the way. I think you could probably figure that out. Rest in peace. A life well lived. And we'd like to live long lives. and hurting your head is not a good idea. And so the Golden Globes last night at least gave Will Smith a little bit of a nomination, although he did not earn the award. Who knows, maybe the Oscars will treat him differently. But the movie has generated a lot of conversation, and Dr. Raukar is here to kind of explain that to us. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Nice to have you. You are an emergency doc at Rhode Island Hospital. You're also running the Center for Sports Medicine at Brown, right? So you're a busy person.
That's true.
Yes. You've got strong feelings about this concussion thing. Give me your, have you seen the movie?
I have.
I haven't gotten there yet. Was it worth it?
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Will Smith?
Right. Did it portray the issue properly with the NFL and with the overall specific clinical accuracy that I'm sure you were looking for?
I think it did its job to bring the word concussion to the dinner table. If that was the goal, it did that.
You're being careful. Was there a clinical issue in the movie that you thought was a little off the mark, or?
They brought up a topic of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, that's been seen in football players, and so the movie revolved around this diagnosis of CTE.
Right. And was it accurate in terms of his portrayal?
They showed that football players can have it, that at the highest level, some football players have this, yes.
Right. Are you being careful?
I'm being honest.
Okay. Well, is there something you want to say about the movie?
I thought it was...
And then we'll talk about the issue. I mean, we'll talk about concussions and what people should be looking for and all that, but I want to go see the movie and I want to have your expertise in my head when I see it.
I think that parents are coming into the clinic now wondering if their kids have CTE, and they're drawing that conclusion from a movie. And I think the point of a movie is not to educate, it's to bring drama to your living room or to the theater. And so I don't think that it should be taken as a scientific piece of
I get you.
evidence.
Well, you know, we're all trying to diagnose on the web and
Right, that's
blah,
true.
blah, and da-da-da. I'm a hypochondriac, so the last thing I'm ever going to do is diagnose on the web or come from a movie and say, oh, I just call my doctor. All right, when we come back, we're going to lay out some of the truths, the myths, and everything else about this head injury stuff, which is, you would agree, important.
Yes.
Really important. Stay with us.
When I was a boy, heaven was here, and America was here. You could be anything, you could do anything. I am the wrong person to have discovered this.
If you don't speak for them, who will?
So that's part of the trailer where Will Smith plays Dr. Bennett Amalu, who is the guy that reportedly rocked the NFL with the identification of this disease, concussions, which is called, what is it called again?
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Before he started talking about this, we knew what a concussion was.
Right.
Right? So what's the distinction between the two?
So CTE is a diagnosis made after somebody dies. You take their brain, you slice it up, and you can stain it. And it looks at the deposition of some protein called tau in certain areas of your brain. And there's some suggestion, although not definitive by any means, that this is seen in people with many, many impacts to the head.
CTE then is only diagnosed once you're
Dead.
Once you're kicked.
Right.
Isn't it amazing the way doctors talk about this stuff as if it's no big thing? All right, so when you croak, we take it, we color it up, slice it up, check. You brought a brain?
I have a brain.
Yeah, there's another one thing they're very comfortable with. Just bring body parts. And all
It's
that
a
kind of
foam
stuff.
brain. It's squishy.
It's a squishy foam brain. You'll probably want to show me something about that. We also have some pictures. Let's put some pictures up about the brain. That a concussed brain and a normal brain. Now, I would know the difference between the two. You would. What is?
What are we looking at?
What is? Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. What am I seeing?
So on the right, you're seeing a normal brain. So this is called diffusion tensor imaging. It's a kind of MRI. It's not done all the time. It's only a research tool. And we're looking at the flow of water in axons, okay? So in the normal brain, you can see the fibers in a nice array, right? And that would correspond to a certain part of the brain. In the concussed brain, on the left, you can see defects, right? You can see that the array is not as pretty as on the right. And so these are severely concussed people, and you can see this is a way to show a concussion. Because by definition, a concussion is normal imaging, normal CT scan, normal MRI. But this is a research tool that we can use that we can see the difference.
Okay, I think I had a concussion. God, I'm getting old. 30 years ago-ish. You know what, over tea kettle on my bike, bang, I got to have my helmet on, but I was definitely bell rung, right? Bell rung. Doc says, yeah, you probably got a concussion. Rest for a while. It was really all you could do. Is it all you do now?
Well, there's passive therapy, so that's rest, and there's active therapy, so there's physical therapy, and we can retrain your visual system, and we can retrain your balance system. So we can do a little bit more now.
Over 30 years has been progress?
It's amazing.
Really?
Yes.
Because?
Well, because the NFL has been accused of so much, because concussion is such a big topic right now, there's a lot of money in concussion research. So a lot of funding agencies are putting money into it. So now we've learned more.
Can you tell me what you think about all this stuff? Do you have a point of view on how we're dealing with this concussion conversation?
Yes.
What is it?
So I think a couple of things. I think that on a national level, we're talking about it. That's good. I think that athletes are now less inclined to hide their symptoms and be more upfront. I don't think it's as good as we would hope, but I think that people are more upfront about their symptoms. We're seeing an increase in the rate of diagnosis of concussion, and we think it's because of more awareness. So I think people are more upfront about their symptoms. When they're upfront, they'll go seek care. So I think they're getting treated earlier. I think people are more watchful when they see how many concussions their kid is getting. They're more aware, oh, my kid's had 5 concussions. Oh, my kid's had 3 concussions. They're more aware of that. I think, though, there's still a lot of people who still hide their symptoms. And just this morning, I met a woman, and her neighbor's daughter is playing basketball. And she's playing with her concussion, knowingly playing with her concussion because the scouts are out there. And so I think it's still a problem, but I think we're slowly attacking it.
Well, we don't have to name the team or whatever, but when you hear stuff like that, I mean, third hand, you're not going to step in, right?
Right.
But someone in that dynamic should step in.
And say something.
Yes?
Yes.
So you're suggesting that there's still, I don't know, the equivalent of what, political correctness around concussion, or that's probably not the right analogy, but there's still a denial, oh, it's not that bad, it's okay. Listen, in priority, if we've got scouts coming in and this is your moment, blah, 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 and you're saying, wait a second, right?
Right.
I mean, so what happens when you're playing with a concussion?
So when you have your first concussion and you recover, your brain has had the time to heal, and you can go back and play, and you're somewhat back to normal. If you have a concussion and you go back to play and you get hit again, it's a dramatically different scenario. Now you're playing with 2 head injuries, so your brain's not working as well. There's going to be symptoms from that. There's going to be an effect. There's going to be a consequence.
We come back, we'll talk about the consequence. Is it short term or long term? Or how far along are we to understand that you're really playing with fire long term? Stay with us. Let's just put it this way. I would have felt bad for the Bengals the way they just threw that ball game away, but it was actually more about their behavior that caused it. And although, let's put it this way, the Steelers weren't, I mean, there was 2 bad groups there on, and I'm no wussy football fan, but holy cow. Did you watch the game?
I did.
So you're a sports fan. You can't be a sports doc and not be a sports fan,
This
right?
is true. You're right.
So I mean, you're not one of these, oh, don't play types. You're helping people be able to play.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that mess?
That was a mess. Those were 2 probably concussions.
The helmets are getting better.
So a helmet, it's an interesting question. A helmet was designed to reduce the rate of skull fractures and to reduce the energies that the brain feels. but it was designed to reduce the linear acceleration. So let's go back a step. When we talk about a concussion, when we talk about hits to the head, we talk about two kinds of forces. We talk about linear acceleration, so what's hit straight on, and we talk about rotational acceleration. So you saw in that game, both players, their heads got whipped around, and they had some torque to their neck, right? And so a concussion is mostly due actually to rotational forces, not linear forces. A helmet was designed to absorb linear forces. So yes, helmets are getting better. But we have not figured out technology to reduce the forces that cause a concussion. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it absolutely does. In fact, that answers some questions. Oh, you brought this thing.
I brought a brain.
That video we showed before, is you see the coloring difference and the fluid difference in which portion of the brain. Like
so
right
the fibers
in
that you saw, those beautiful fibers,
yeah,
would be the fibers right here.
Okay.
And so that's where it would line up.
And that's where you're seeing that in that high-tech MRI type of thing that you were looking at. What is your, Doc, what is your feeling about how many, I think this is the $1.4 billion Powerball question that everybody wants answered. By the way, do you got your tickets?
I'm going to get them.
There you go. First time, or?
No.
You've been in this thing the whole way?
No, not the whole way.
You wouldn't quit what you're doing if you won.
I would not quit. No, I like what I do.
Okay. Sure?
I really do.
I do too, but anyway. Everyone wants to know how many are too many. How many concussions are too many? What is the answer?
There's no answer.
Is it different for everybody?
It's different for everybody. It's different on the types of concussions you had, how closely spaced together these concussions are, how old were you when you had the concussions, did you play through or did you sit out right away, your sex, like are you a male or a female?
Why? What's the gender issue?
So females, we're finding that females have a lower threshold for a concussion. Females take longer to recover. Females have more symptoms. So females are actually worse off when they're concussed.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things that go into saying how many is too many. So there's no magic number. Everybody wants that magic number. There's no magic number.
What do we know do we have indicators to tell us, aha, when you finally do pass, we're going to see that disease in your brain? I mean, is there something that you can't do that yet either?
Not yet. No.
Do you think we'll have the medical technology to actually diagnose CTE before people die?
A lot of people are working very hard to diagnose CTE before we die, or even to diagnose a concussion, right? Right now, concussion is a clinical diagnosis. It's a conversation, it's some cognitive testing, it's balance testing, it's visual testing. There's no blood test, there's no urine test, there's no test, no objective test that can say, oh, you're concussed.
But most people kind of know when they're not right.
Most people kind of know. Most people will not always say so, though.
All right, we got 45. I could talk to you all day. Give me a 30-second message. What is your message to everybody about this situation?
If you think you have a suspected concussion, get checked out. Don't hide your symptoms. Tell somebody. Tell your coach. Tell your family. Tell somebody about your symptoms. And if you're bad enough, go to the emergency department and get checked out.
And if you're a coach or a parent, don't push it.
Don't push it.
It could be long-term, big-time problem.
Right.
All right. It seems self-explanatory to me. I don't know.
But we've played for generations through our injuries.
Well, that's true.
So it's a change of culture.
Don't mess with the head.
Don't mess with the head.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back. Didn't get to tonight with the doctor, and we should, and we will on the radio in some very near future, is what we're doing in Rhode Island for athletic training. We have some better data on concussions, Rhode Island, that may not be exactly what you think it is. We'll tell you about that in the future, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.